Hi class, welcome back to our subject Fundamentals of Accounting, Business and Management Part 1. We have already finished discussing accounting concepts and principles, so let's head now to Chapter 5, the accounting equation. So again, class, this chapter is one of the most important chapter here in FABM 1 because this will serve as your foundation in your analysis in future accounting, like for example, in journalizing, in posting, in the trial balance. So it is very much important to really understand the reason and what is the meaning of this or the analysis behind this accounting equation. So let's identify first what is an account. So it may be defined as a detailed record of the increases, decrease, and balance of each element that appears in an entity's financial statements. So as you know, each account title or each account have his or her own left side or the debit side and the right side or credit side. So ito yung ina-establish natin dito sa accounting equation. So laging merong dalawang side. So it's either on the left and the right. So always sa left side yun yung debit side and then sa right side yun yung credit side. But the real question here is kung saang side ba mag-i-increase or magdi-decrease yung isang account title. So let's say for example, yung asset, saan bang side siya mag-i-increase? Sa debit side ba or sa credit side or sa left side or sa right side? So through accounting equation, we will be able to learn or understand the increases or decreases or the balance of each of the elements na nag-a-appear sa financial statements natin. So, ano nga ba yung accounting equation? So, the basic tool of accounting is the accounting equation. The left side of the equation shows how much the business owns, so that is the asset, and the right side of the equation shows how much resources to the outside creditor, so that's the liability, and owner supplied to the business. So, owner reflects to the equity. So, the logic of debiting and crediting is related to the accounting equation. So, transactions may require addition to both sides, the left or the right side, or subtraction from both sides, again, left and right, or an addition and subtraction on the same side. So, it can be for the left side, may addition and then meron din subtraction. Or sa right side, meron ding addition or meron ding subtraction. So, but in all cases, the equality must be maintained as shown above. So, as you can see, para siyang isang siso na kailangan lagi siyang balance or kailangan laging equal. So, meaning laging equal dapat yung asset and the sum of liability and equity. Since accounting is based on a double entry system, which means that dual effects of business are recorded, so the debit side entry must have a corresponding credit side entry. For every transaction, there must be or more accounts debited or one or more accounts credited and must be equal both sides. So each transaction affects at least two accounts. So that's basically the gist or the whole concept of the accounting equation. So it means that for every entry or for every increase in the left side, kailangan meron din sa right side. Or if there is a decrease in the left side, kailangan meron din decrease sa right side. So that's the accounting equation. So to summarize the effect of the accounting equation to the elements or to the accounts, so here is a summary of that. So as you can see, we have here the assets, liabilities, capital or equity, revenue or income, and expenses. So revenue or income and expenses are nominal amounts which are being close to the equity amount. So meaning the real accounts here or the assets, liabilities, capital, or equity. So, if mapapansin nyo, yung accounting equation natin, ang nasa left side natin is yung asset and then nasa right side natin yung liabilities and equity. So, always, ang left side natin ay yung debit side and always, yung right side natin ay yung credit side. So, therefore, the normal balance of an asset is the left side or the debit side. And then for liabilities and equity, it is always the right side or credit side. So therefore, as you can see here, if there's an increase in asset, so ang entry ay magiging debit. And therefore, kapag mababawasan or magdi-decrease yung asset, kaya siya i-credit. Okay? And then for liabilities and equity, as you can see, since makikita mo siya sa equation, sa right side, so, ibig sabihin, mag-i-increase siya whenever it is credited. And magdi-decrease siya whenever it is debited. So, if you're going to ask me here for revenue or income and expenses, kung bakit ang revenue or income, same effect as with the equity, and expenses, kabaliktaran. So, ang example natin dito is kapag yung business is nagkakaroon ng revenue or income, nadadagdagan yung portion ng equity nung may-ari. So, ibig sabihin, kapag may income, madadagdagan or nag-i-increase din yung equity. So, meaning, same effect siya always with the equity. So, since equity increases whenever it is credited, so ganun din yung income. So, laging parang kung iisipin mo ay laging okay na okay sa equity ang income. So, parang lagi niyang kabate. So, yung expense naman, so since ito yung mga gastos ng negosyo, so ibig sabihin, napapababa niya yung equity ng isang business. So, that's why kabaliktaran siya ng effect ng equity. So, whenever na nagde-debit tayo ng expenses, doon nag-i-increase. And whenever we credit expenses, doon nag-decrease. Okay? So, lagi nyo lang tatandaan, ang kabate ng equity ay yung income. Kaya, same effect siya with equity. And yung expenses ay kaaway nung equity. Kaya, kabaliktaran siya ng effect nung equity. Okay? So let's try now to analyze more the accounting equation in the different accounting events and transactions. But before that, let's define first kung ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng accounting event. So, accounting event is an economic occurrence that causes changes in an enterprise's assets, liabilities, and or equity. And then, transaction is a particular kind of event that involves the transfer of something of value between two entities. So, ibig sabihin, whenever there is an accounting event na mayroong change in the enterprise's asset, liability, and or equity and accounting transaction. So, meron tayong kailangang i-record. So, before we record, we need to analyze first kung ano yung galaw ng bawat element na i-record natin and eventually mag-a-appear sa financial statements natin. So, the financial transactions will be analyzed by means of the financial transaction worksheet, which is a form used to analyze increases and decreases in the assets, liabilities, or owner's equity of a business entity. So, this is an example of the financial transaction worksheet or minsan tinatawag siyang columnar pad. So, makikita nyo sa mga national bookstore, meron niya mga 12 columns, 16 columns. So, that's basically yung ginagamit natin to analyze the transactions. So, let's start now with our illustration. Mr. Cardo Dalisay opened an accounting firm last July 2019. The following transactions are made during the month. So, first transaction happened on July 1. Mr. Cardo Dalisay invested 100,000 to start an accounting office. So first, as you can see, here in the financial transaction worksheet, ginagamit natin yung accounting equation natin. So we have here the asset equals the liabilities plus owner's equity. And then also, wag kalimutan yung heading. So, we have here the firm of Mr. Cardo Dalisay or C. Dalisay Accounting Firm and the financial transaction worksheet or kung ano siya. And then, this is for the month of July 2019. So, under the side of the asset, doon natin ilalagay kung ano-ano bang asset yung nangyari doon sa mga transaction. And then, for liabilities and owner's equity, ganun din, katulad nung sa asset. So, remember, nung na-establish natin yung accounting equation, always dapat kung ano yung gumalaw dito sa kaliwa, ganun din yung magiging galaw sa kanan. So, we must maintain the equality of the equation. So, for the first transaction, we have here na nag-invest ng 100,000 na cash si Cardo Dalisay. So, since cash yung kanyang ininvest, so ibig sabihin, nag-increase yung cash natin. And cash is a part of asset. So, remember, in double entry, kailangan ma-maintain natin yung equality. And also, for every one effect of that transaction, meron pang isang effect. So, ano pa yung isa? So, ibig sabihin, nag-invest si Cardo Dalisay, so tumaas or nag-increase yung capital niya. So, that's why it is an increase in the owner's equity, specifically under si Dalisay Capital. So, for the second transaction is we purchased office supplies worth 20,000 on account. So, whenever we have the word on account, ibig sabihin, binili natin yung office supplies ng pautang or ibig sabihin, inutang natin yung pambili ng office supplies. So, therefore, tama na nag-increase yung ating office supplies. So, since siya ay supplies or gamit ng mismong business, so this should be part of our asset. So, increase in the asset side of 20,000. And since nagkaroon tayo ng utang dahil binili nga natin ng office supplies, so increase also in liabilities under accounts payable. So as you can see here, we still maintain the equality of the accounting equation. So we have the total of 100,000 and then the office supplies of 20,000. So that's the total amount of asset of 120,000 and then we have the total of liabilities and owner's equity of 120,000 as well. So next one, July 5, purchased additional office supplies for cash, 10,000. So, dito naman, bumili pa tayo ng additional na office supplies pero nagbayad na tayo ng cash. So, ibig sabihin, tulad ng kanina, nag-increase or nadagdagan yung office supplies natin. Kaya kung makikita niyo dito, 10,000 additional or increase sa office supplies. And since ang pinambayad natin ay cash or yung pera nung kumpanya or pera nung business, so mababawasan na yung cash natin. So therefore, there is a decrease in cash amounting to 10,000. So as you can see, we still maintain the equality kasi yung total ng transaction ay -10 plus 10 dun sa side ng asset. That's why mag-i-equal lang siya sa 0. And then, there's no effect sa liabilities or equity. So, therefore, yung total balance pa rin natin is 120,000 for both no asset and liabilities and equity. So, for July 6, we paid the accounts payable in full. Ibig sabihin, binayaran na natin lahat ng utang natin. So, kung makikita nyo dun sa balance natin, meron tayong 20,000 na accounts payable. So, ibig sabihin, yun yung babayaran natin. So, once na binayaran natin siya, mababawasan na yung accounts payable. That's why, meron na tayong decrease in liabilities, specifically yung accounts payable. And then, ano yung gagamitin natin para pambayad nitong utang na to? So, ibig sabihin, nabawasan yung cash natin. So, that's why, meron din tayong decrease in cash na 20,000. So, again, makikita nyo, merong decrease na 20,000 sa left side and then meron din decrease ng 20,000 sa right side. So, ibig sabihin, same pa rin yung amount ng debit side or ng asset and then the liabilities and equity or credit side natin of 100,000. Next transaction, July 8, we purchased 2 units of computer with printer for 50,000 30 days. So, kapag nakakakita kayo ng meron 30 days, ibig sabihin agad nun ay payable siya within or until 30 days. So, ibig sabihin, binili natin yung computer with printer na pautang or inutang natin yung computer with printer. So, therefore, tama na nag-increase yung office equipment natin since nagkaroon tayo ng 2 units ng computer with printer but at the same time, nadagdagan yung utang natin or liabilities specifically under accounts payable of 50,000. So that's why meron tayong increase sa asset of 50,000 and then meron tayong increase in liabilities specifically accounts payable of 50,000. Kasi again, inutang natin yung computer with printer. So next, July 10, we rendered accounting services for cash amounting to 25,000. So again, yung business natin ay accounting firm. So we get revenue or income whenever we render our services. So since dito, nag-render tayo ng service and naka-receive tayo ng cash for that service, so nadagdagan yung cash ng business. So there is an increase in cash amounting to 25,000 and then since again we rendered services so nadagdagan yung revenue or income natin, that's why meron din tayong increase sa capital side specifically because of the professional fee or professional revenue or service revenue natin. So, that's why may increase sa asset side of 25,000 and then sa capital side or equity side na 25,000. So, that's why we still maintain the equality of the accounting equation. So, again, class, since ito ay revenue, so, kabati lagi ng capital. Kaya, same effect lang siya ng capital. So, once na nag-increase, laging sa credit side. So, July 15, we rendered again our accounting services, pero this time on account 30,000. Again, kapag on account, ibig sabihin naman dito, tayo yung nagpautang nung accounting services natin. So, ibig sabihin, nag-render na tayo ng accounting services, pero wala pa tayong nare-receive na payment for that. So, since wala pa tayong nare-receive na cash for that, ang isa-set natin is accounts receivable. Kasi yung accounts receivable ay ito yung mga marireceive pa lang natin. Okay? And then, since ito ay revenue na naman natin, so increase again in capital, which amounts to 30,000. So again, meron tayong increase sa left side of 30 and sa right side na 30. So equal pa din yung accounting equation natin. So, for July 15, we paid Meralco bills amounting to 3,500. So, since nagbayad tayo ng Meralco bill, ibig sabihin ito ay gastos natin or expense. So, nabawasan tayo ng cash na 3,500 pambayad dun sa Meralco bill na yon, kaya decrease in cash or decrease in the debit side or the left side. And then, since, again, yung expenses ay kaaway ng capital or ayaw niya nun. So, ibig sabihin, kabaliktaran siya ng effect. So, kapag nagkakaroon tayo ng utilities expense, nababawasan yung capital natin. So, therefore, decrease din siya sa capital side. So, as you can see, decrease by 3.5 sa asset and then decrease by 3.5 sa capital or equity side. So, we still maintain the accounting equation. Next is July 15, we paid salaries for the period 15,000. So, again, since we paid something for an expense, so naglabas tayo ng pera. So, nabawasan uli yung cash natin ng 15,000 and at the same time, expense ulito, so bawas uli sa capital account natin. So, decreased in cash of 15 and decrease in capital of 15,000 basically because of salaries expense. So next transaction, July 20, collected 10,000 from customer. So, remember, a while ago, we rendered service on account. So, ibig sabihin, receivable pa natin siya. So, this time, yun daw receivable na yun, nakakolekta tayo ng 10,000 pesos. So, therefore, since nakakolekta tayo, parang binigyan na tayo ni customer ng bayad na 10,000. So, nadagdagan or nag-increase yung cash natin ng 10,000. And then, since kanina, yun yung balance na accounts receivable natin na 30, so babawasan na natin yun. So, decrease in accounts receivable and increase in cash. So, kung mapapansin nyo, parang kanina, di ba, 30,000 yung utang sa atin ni customer. So, nagbayad na siya ng 10,000. Therefore, 20,000 na lang yung utang ni customer. So, we still maintain the equality of the accounting equation. Kasi, for the asset side, we have the 186,500, and then for the liabilities and equity side, we have the amount of 186,500 as well. July 22. A short-term loan from a local bank was granted in amount of 50,000 less 5,000 financing charges. Mr. C. Dalisay issued 1-year promissory note. So, ang ibig sabihin nitong transaction na to ay umutang daw tayo sa bangko. So, pinautang tayo kasi nagawa tayo ng 1-year na promissory note. So, therefore, nilagay natin dun sa note na I promise to pay this local bank amounting to 50,000 pesos. So, in short, naka-receive tayo ng cash, okay? Dahil nga pinautang tayo ng bangko. Pero, again, remember, sa transaction, binawasan na daw yon ng 5,000 na financing charges. So, ito yung mga finance charges sa bangko or mga expense para pautangin ka. So, yung cash na lang na na-receive natin ay 45,000. Thus, as you can see, we have an increase in cash amounting to 45,000. And then, magkano yung notes payable? Again, it is notes payable kasi note yung binigay natin sa bangko. So, that's amounting to 50,000. And then, as you can see, hindi balance yung accounting equation natin, 45 sa cash and the notes payable na 50. So, therefore, tingnan nyo uli yung transaction, makikita nyo meron tayong 5,000 na financing charges. So, iyan, pwede nating i-reflect as expense nung business or nung company. So, since expense siya or interest expense, so we deduct it sa total capital or equity side. So, therefore, balanse na yung accounting equation natin. Next transaction, July 25, paid telephone bill amounting to 6,000. So, this telephone bill is part of your expenses or communication expenses to be exact. So, since expense siya na binayaran natin, nabawasan na naman yung cash natin. So, thus, decrease in cash or decrease in the side of asset amounting to 6,000. And since expense siya, nababawasan niya yung capital. So, decrease again in C, the Lisay capital or the owner's equity side. So, therefore, we still show the equality of the accounting equation. July 25, Mr. Dalisay withdraw 20,000 for personal use. So, kapag yung owner nag-withdraw ng 20,000 dun sa mismong business niya, so tatanggalin yon sa capital niya. Kasi again, class, we have the business entity principle in which the business and the owner is separate and distinct from each other. So, yung cash ng business, hindi pwedeng cash na din siya ng mismong owner. So, cash yun ng business. So, that's why, mababawasan yung cash natin ng 20,000 kasi kumuha nga si Mr. Dalisay and nababawasan yung capital niya or mababawasan yung capital niya ng 20,000 din. Since yung capital niya is yun yung parang pagmamay-ari niya dun sa business, so babawasan lang natin ng 20,000 kasi kumuha din siya ng 20,000 dun sa negosyo. So, negative or decrease in the asset side and decrease also in the owner's equity side. And as for the last transaction, happened on July 31. So at the end of the month, physical count of the office supplies revealed that 5,000 had been consumed. So ibig sabihin, if na-consume na siya or na-expire, nagamit na, ibig sabihin, dapat lang na i-recognize na natin siya as an expense. So, class, ito ay parang concept ng accrual accounting in which magre-record tayo ng expense kapag na-incur na talaga natin siya. So, dito, noong July 31, nung pagbibilang nyo ng office supplies, nagamit na pala yung 5,000. So, it is important na i-recognize na natin siya as supplies expense. So, therefore, kapag expense, mababawasan na yung capital ng owner or decrease in Dalisay capital. So, based dito, di ba normally kapag may expense, nagbabayad tayo ng cash, pero wala na tayong nilabas na pera dito. Ang babawasan natin is yung supplies natin or office supplies natin na asset. So, ano ba yung mga example nitong office supplies? So, it can be a ball pen, bond papers, or yung mga pentel pen or markers or eraser, yan. So, ibig sabihin, nung pagbibilang daw, nabawasan na daw ng 5,000 worth yon. So, babawasan mo na din yung office supplies mo. So, parang kung makikita nyo dito, yung balance na lang na office supplies natin ay 25,000 na lang. So, parang iyan na lang yung makikita mo talaga dun sa business na nandun pa yung office supplies na yon. Okay? So, therefore, we still maintain the equality of the accounting transaction. So those are the financial transactions that happened during the month of July 2019 sa accounting firm ni Cardo Dalisay. So as you can see, we have here the summary of all of the transactions that happened. So from July 1 up to July 31. And then we need to have the total balance for each of the accounts. So for cash, we have 105,500, and then for accounts receivable, we have 20,000. For office supplies, 25,000, and then for office equipment, 50,000. For accounts payable, we have 50,000, and for notes payable, we have 50,000. And then for our total capital, in which binawas natin yung mga expenses and dinagdag natin yung mga revenue or income natin na 100,500. So that's a total of, for both sides, na tig 200,500. So as you can see, we still maintain the equality of our accounting equation. Again, we use this financial transaction worksheet para mas ma-analyze natin kada account if kung kailan siya mag-i-increase or kung kailan siya magdi-decrease. And if sa debit side ba siya or sa left side or sa right side or sa credit side. So therefore, magagamit natin to establish kung paano natin siya i-journalize. So kung debit or credit. Okay? So later on, we will discuss more of this. For our next lesson, i-discuss muna natin yung Chapter 6, Types of Major Accounts. So, malalaman natin dito, so ano-ano ba yung under ng assets, ano-ano ba yung types ng mga liabilities, ano ba yung mga example ng equity or under owner's equity, and then ano-ano ba yung mga example ng income and expenses. So, that discussion is for you to familiarize more kung ano yung tamang gamitin na account for certain financial transactions. So that's all for today, class. If you have any concerns or questions, feel free to message me. Okay? So see you on our next lesson.